Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Thank you for joining us. We'll give folks a few minutes to hop in, but while we're waiting, please feel free to drop your name, where you're joining us from in the chat, and what you're most excited about for No Kings, if you've got something on your radar already. We'll give folks a few minutes to join, and then we'll jump in. Thank you so much for joining. I see California in the chat. Greensboro, hey, good to see you. Joplin, Missouri. LA, Macon, Georgia, Long Island, Texarkana. Wonderful to see you all. We have somebody joining us from Italy. That's wonderful. Very excited that we have friends and hosts internationally. Really thankful for all of you for joining us for this. Tampa, O'Fallon, Missouri. I've got some family out near O'Fallon. Uh, Madison, San Antonio, Texas, New Mexico, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Oh my gosh, this is wonderful. Oh, I am so wonderful. I'm so wonderfully happy to see all of you on with us today. Thank you so much for joining. We are just so thankful to all of you, our hosts, our volunteer leaders, our attendees for No Kings. This is the mass mobilization on June 14th, and I want to welcome you all to this host training. This is our first training call, our introduction training call for No Kings. We're going to have many more calls between now and the 14th because we are here to support you and the work that you are doing to turn this into a truly historic day of mass protest and action together. So thank you for being here. Keep dropping in the chat where you're joining from. Really appreciate seeing all of this. This is just so wonderful. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to jump in with some quick housekeeping before we get into the meat of it. Uh, First, this call is being recorded, so just as an FYI, we are recording it. We will send it out afterwards. If you are joining us and you need captions or you would like to see captions, you can turn those on with the captions button. It's the CC or the show captions button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Just go down there and click on the CC and captions should be automatically generated. We will pause the chat every once in a while as we're dropping in links for folks, just so we can make sure that those links do get, you can see them in there. They don't get, overtaken by all of the wonderful messages. So that will happen at times. And there is a Q&A function here in Zoom that we will use for questions and answers, provided we have time at the end. So drop your questions into the Q&A function. There's a button down at the bottom, should be right next to the CC. And within that function, you can also upvote other people's questions. So if you have the same question, you can just, +1 that question, and those will move towards the top. All of this information that we are sharing in this call today will be sent in a follow-up email. We will also be sending out our weekly host email on probably not Monday because it's Memorial Day, so it'll be Tuesday next week. And finally, we are just so glad you're here. We are so thankful for the work that you are all already doing and that you will be doing between now and the 14th and even beyond to make this day really successful. Before I jump in, I just want to give a quick introduction. My name is Danny Negretti. I am the National Political Director for Indivisible and very thankful to be helping to coordinate all of the work across the country for our No Kings mobilization. We can jump in. I want to start with just explaining a little bit about who this call is for. Uh, Today's training is really for people who are interested in hosting or helping lead and plan the June 14th No Kings mobilizations. So we're going to be talking a lot about ways to be thinking about your events, ways to be planning ahead, to be publicizing and promoting them. If you are one of those leaders, one of those folks who's taken a big role here at this call is for you. And if you're interested in attending a mobilization, but not necessarily hosting one, we're going to drop a link in the chat here so you can find a mobilization near you. We have really exciting news. Just yesterday, we passed 1,000 events on the map nationwide, which is a huge deal. We've still got 3 weeks to go before this mobilization happens. 1,000 events is going to be big. We're going to go bigger. So huge applause to all of you. Love all the hearts in the chat because that is a big deal. We're going to make history on the 14th. So thank you very much, all of you, for making that possible. Now, like I said, we'll drop that link in the chat for anyone who's looking for a map. Uh, uh, let's get into it, though, about what this mobilization is going to look like. This is what it looks like right now. I pulled this map yesterday. I made sure to include those international events. You can see those dots in London and Italy. We're gonna get more on there. We also have events in event in Canada too, at least one. But we have events in all 50 states across the country. We have a big star right there for our flagship event in Philadelphia. And we will have some additional stars popping up for some of the other major events that are going to be promoted for our full audience to go to. I can name at least two of those are going to be in Chicago, Illinois, and Charlotte, North Carolina. But it's really this full collection of dots that are going to make this moment historic for all of us. No matter where you are in the country, you're going to have somewhere to go and people to be with on that day. And we're so thankful that you're here to make that happen with us. So I'm going to go over the basics of this mobilization. I'm going to start with the what of it all, and then we'll talk about the why. So the what of it is June 14th is our National Day of Action that is really rooted in American values of a peaceful protest. It is a clear response to the greed, the abuse of power, and the excesses of this administration and its enablers. And we're taking this as an opportunity to continue to build on the incredible momentum and energy we've been seeing from mobilizations that have been happening since the inauguration, really. We've seen a bunch of really incredible protests led by 5051 and other groups. And then we had Hands Off on April 5th. If you were one of those folks who hosted a hands-off event, please let us know in the chat too, if this is your second go around or more than second go around. Hands Off was a really wonderful day of historic, large-scale protests. And we follow that up too with May Day, that was just earlier this month. That was also a really wonderful way to bring people together in community. So we're taking all that momentum, we are driving forward with it towards June 14th. And one of the key things about June is that it's a busy month. There's a lot going on in June, and that's a good thing. But in acknowledging that, it is really important that we're building No Kings to be additive and congruent with all of the other mobilizations that are happening in June, as well as the important recognitions. Some of them that I will just name on June 6th and throughout the rest of the month, there are veterans recognitions happening in DC and elsewhere. Shortly after the 14th is Juneteenth, and the recognitions for and by Black community leaders. And then throughout the month of June is Pride, and there are going to be Pride celebrations, likely in many of the cities where No Hands are happening. Sorry, No Hands. I keep doing that. No Kings is happening in on the 14th. So we are being really conscious about trying to build an inclusive mobilization that brings people together and is not in competition or conflict with any of these other really important recognitions and celebrations as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but I do just want to name that, and for all hosts, encourage you to work with other community leaders to make sure that you're in communication and helping collaborate and build for a really helpful, productive, integrated day. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the why behind the what, why we're mobilizing on the 14th. Number one, I'm sure you've all heard about it, and I'm going to raise it again. Donald Trump is throwing himself, yes, a military parade, really a birthday parade for himself in Washington, D.C. on June 14th. This is something that he's wanted since his first administration. You know, his aspirations for all of that authoritarian symbolism have not gone away. And it didn't happen in his first administration because of objections over the cost. Those objections still exist, but they are not holding him back this time around. So he's moving forward with this really incredible display that is obviously intended to solidify his image as a strong man. And it's all happening on our dime. The current estimated cost is somewhere between 45 million and 100 million. It could be more. We don't know. And also, they don't have a great track record of transparency. But what we do know is that we won't stand by while that happens. So instead of allowing that military parade to be the center of gravity that day, No Kings is about making the story happen everywhere else, about action happening everywhere else across the country, people coming together to reject the strongman politics and corruption that we'll be seeing on display that day. I will say, as an important point here, we are not going to be hosting an event in DC. Donald Trump is going to have his birthday parade. No Kings is really oriented towards building contrast and not conflict. So instead of inviting folks to come protest in DC, what we are doing is hosting a flagship event in Philadelphia. I don't know if any of our Philadelphia hosts are on the call right now, but we're really excited about Philadelphia and hope folks join us there if you are not hosting your own event, but really looking forward to working with folks and seeing a really wonderful event that day. But on that note, all across the country, we are working with local organizers, partners, and leaders from across the pro-democracy and pro-worker movement to demonstrate specifically that organized people power outpaces any authoritarian aspirations. And to that end, we are going to be doing quite a bit to make June 14th successful and make sure that our organized people power is actually organized. And that's where you all come in. So I'm going to start with a sort of high-level overview of what to expect on the 14th. And then we'll get into the details of resources and messaging and all of that. So on this high level, big picture overview, we have a coalition of organizations nationwide that are taking part in this. We have, I think, over 150 partners signed on to this mobilization right now, and it's folks from across the ecosystem. We have partners in labor, partners in civil rights groups, environmental groups, um, uh, voting rights organizations, all kinds of advocacy organizations and constituent representation organizations in order to bring this moment together. And we're really thrilled by the work that is happening with those partners. And we'll get to talk a little bit about that in a moment. As I mentioned, we have a major mobilization in Philadelphia, and we have additional large events that we know are going to happen. Molly, who's you're going to hear from in a second, has been working on the New York March, which is going to be incredible. We have a big event happening in Daley Plaza in Chicago. We've got some really fun events planned, or a really fun event planned in Charlotte, North Carolina. And there are a handful of others that we know are going to be quite big and that we will be looking to do some additional promotion for. Uh, and in addition to those, though, there's going to be, like I said, we have 1,000 events across the country. It's great. Those are the best ones, are the events that are happening, out there across the country. to make sure that these opportunities are accessible for anyone who feels mobilized. So they don't have to go all the way across the state. They can go down the street to the middle of their town and show that it doesn't matter how red or how blue or how rural or how suburban or urban their community is, there is objection and opposition coming together in those spaces. And like I said, our numbers are only growing. We are already over 1,000 registered events across all 50 states. We've got some international events on the map that we'll continue adding to. And we're just so thrilled to see the energy that's out there right now. So before we go into the uh, specifics on the resources and what we're going to be offering over the next few weeks, I do want to say that as because this is a big coalition moment, because this is about folks coming together across the ecosystem, it is really important that we as hosts and as leaders and as volunteers work together to build a really cohesive message and a really cohesive story on that day. So there is going to be, moments where we're stressed out, we're confused, where we're, worried about whether or not we have enough people or not enough people, or maybe we have too many people showing up. There's going to be moments where we're, frustrated with the Mobilize platform and whether or not we can get updates on the Mobilize platform, whether or not our event has been hosted yet, or maybe there's another event in our area that we haven't connected with yet, but we want to. This is a really important moment for us to be kind, to support each other, be collaborative, and work together. Whether you're coming in from Indivisible or 5051 or another No Kings partner, we're all in this together, and I'm just so thankful that you're here with us. With that, I'm very excited to pass the mic over to Molly Sandley, my colleague, who's going to talk a little bit about the event resources for event hosts that we have available.
Thank you, Danny. Hi, everybody. I'm Molly Sandley from Indivisible. I use she, her pronouns. I'm going to walk you through the basics of setting up and organizing your No Kings event, your event team, and your press outreach. Um, Next slide, please. As a reminder, all of the topics that I'm going to cover today can also be found in your host toolkit. It also has expanded guidance on the topics we're going to cover just briefly today, including messaging, those links to graphics and posters, logistics information, along with some contact info if you need more support. And as a reminder, you're going to be able to join us for upcoming office hours and some additional trainings for hosts. We'll drop those links in the chat later on. Next slide. To get us started, I'm going to talk a little bit about the central message of No Kings. We know that a key component of a successful event is having a clear, direct message. No Kings is a rejection of the corruption, lawlessness, and the predatory politics of the Trump-Musk administration. Your speakers and visuals should all reflect this, but this also leaves a lot of room to highlight issues and impacts that are important in your area. Some of the key messages that we're going to be working to communicate are: he's using our money to pay for his party. Donald Trump's birthday celebration is expected to cost up to $100 million of our tax dollars, all while Republicans claim that there is no funding available for Social Security, for SNAP, or for Medicaid. Next up is we are united against kings. Trump has already indicated that he is aiming for at least a third term. And now he's planning this self-aggrandizing military parade in DC. But this is America, and we don't do kings here. The American people are not going to put up with it. Together, we're going to mobilize in huge numbers to reject this corruption and this abuse of power. It's in our DNA as a country. Next, they've gone too far. They have defied our courts. They are deporting American citizens. They are disappearing people off the streets, and they are slashing services, all while orchestrating a massive giveaway to their billionaire allies. Enough. For anyone who thinks that he has gone too far, this movement is for you. I want to talk a little bit about graphics. The toolkit has a link to a folder with lots of different graphics and posters. You can print them as is. You can use them to base as a base for your own designs. You can create something new entirely. The No Kings message can be adapted for the issues that are most important to you, or you can use slogans on your signs like No Kings in America, Stop the Shakedown, We are not for sale. These are all messages that contain that core truth around No Kings. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about creating your event and building your team. Step one is to get your event registered on the No Kings Mobilized so that it shows up on the map. Always double check the Mobilize map first to see if there's already an event planned in your area. And if so, you should really join forces rather than dividing up and having multiple events in the same area. If that's the case, the best way to contact the host for an existing event is to register for their event. You'll get a confirmation email back. That'll include a link to contact your organizer directly. If the map is all clear, you're good to go. Register your event and you are ready to dive in. The next step is to build your team and identify roles. Having a planning team is really, really important. You cannot do this alone. There are a lot of ways to help with an event, but there are a few key roles that we have found it's helpful to fill right from the start in order to ensure the success of your day. First up is your logistics captain. This person is going to help identify locations or any permits needed. They'll arrange for things like sound equipment or a stage if it's a rally, and they make sure that you have everything you need on the day of the event so that it can go smoothly. Next up is going to be your recruitment captain. They will focus on how you'll get the word out for the event. It can be really helpful to have someone who's comfortable with posting in various places online, knows the different message boards, things like that. Someone who knows the local area well is also great for this, so they can find other opportunities to promote. If you are having a rally, your speaker captain can be your main point of contact for identifying speakers or performers and coordinating with those people before and during the event so that it goes smoothly and you have really clear lines of communication, which will make a big difference on the day of your event. We all know it's really important to have a safety captain and focus on event safety. And those captains are going to be strongly encouraged. Those captains or someone from your team will be strongly encouraged to join an upcoming safety and de-escalation training. We're going to have more information on those in just a couple of minutes coming up. Finally, a press or media captain can put out your press advisory, gather photos and video from the event, and follow up with the press afterwards. That leads us to step 3. Get the word out and start gathering those signups. You'll get many of your signups right from the Mobilize map, but it's important to also reach out locally. Emphasize reaching out to folks you haven't worked with before, not just your regular channels or your regular team. This is also an opportunity to start building relationships for what comes next, not just focused on this one mobilization. And remember to not just promote online. Think about other ways you can reach out. Flyers on grocery store bulletin boards or at your local library, putting up stickers, chalk sidewalk art. Anything that helps get the word out and increases that visibility is going to help you. The crown is a great little graphic to just share around. And one more resource that we're going to have available, we are going to have supply boxes available for event hosts. We are excited to get that process moving. Each box is going to include things like posters and some other No Kings goodies. These will be available to the first 200 event hosts who provide their shipping information to receive a box. In order to get those, we're going to send out an interest form for this soon once registration for those boxes opens up. So keep an eye out for that in your email, and it'll also go out in that weekly host email that you'll receive. Okay. Lastly, we're going to touch briefly on reaching out to press to get coverage for your event. This is covered in more detail in the toolkit and help is available, but we want to include some basics here to get you started. Step one is to build or find online a media list for your area. That's just your local newspapers, TV stations, any other outlets that you want to see cover your No Kings event. Google or search engine is your help here if you is your friend if you don't already have one of these available. Next step is to give key reporters or news desks a heads up. Send them a short email now, and it really helps them schedule coverage in advance, and it makes it a lot more likely that they're going to be able to send someone in person to your event. Step three is to send out a media advisory. That plays the same role. It lets them know that the event will be happening. We have a template for that linked in the toolkit. Step four is to decide on and prep some designated press speakers from within your group, including members of your team who can talk about how the Trump administration's overreach is impacting them or the people they know. These are people who you really know will speak to the issue and can be clear and concise with the press. Step five, run your event. Run a great event. Don't forget to take lots of pictures and video and in order to document the day. And then your last step is going to be step six. After your event, follow up with a press release. Send around those pictures and those videos and make sure to get the word out. Follow up with the attendees from your event, send them an email, send them some pictures, and get ready to continue to build on your event on the day after. I know this was a lot all at once. That's it from me for today, but all of this information is going to go out in the follow-up email. It's all in the host toolkit, and help is available if you have any questions. I'm going to turn it over now to Jonah Minkoff-Zern from Public Citizen to talk a little bit about safety and security during No Kings. Jonah?
Thanks so much, Molly. I'm so glad to be here with everyone today. Jonah, he, him, with Public Citizen here in Syracuse, New York, and grateful to be one of the national partners working alongside Indivisible and 120 or more organizations to plan these already more than 1,000 events that we have around the country. We want to be building power together. We want to be having people have a sense of collective action, collective hope and strength. And, for me, April 5th, the hands-off mobilization really just turned around my mood. It made me feel hopeful and energetic. And I think it did it for the rest of the nation, that people really started standing up across the nation to speak out, whether it was universities or faith leaders or leaders across the spectrum, Democrats sitting in and taking action, all of those things. And that's what we want to get out of these mobilizations. We want to make them transformative moments to build power, to build our message, to get people excited, to help people hear that there's an alternative voice and vision that we're creating. For us to be successful in building this movement, it is absolutely essential that our actions stay nonviolent. That this is the message that we want to carry on, both because it is our principles and because it is what is going to win the day against creeping authoritarianism, against backsliding of democracy. We need to be building together a massive nonviolent movement. So with that, we expect all hosts and participants to seek to de-escalate any potential confrontation with those who disagree with our values in any way at our events. This is really fundamental and absolutely essential and fantastic. So far with these massive mobilizations, there were 3.5 million people on the streets on April 5th. And again, on May Day, there were hundreds of thousands. And I hope there will be millions of people on the streets on June 5th and on June 14th. Again, we are at an enormous pace right now. We are at numbers that we were just a week before April 5th. So we can make that happen. And we need to keep it nonviolent, no matter what they do. You can go ahead to the next slide. So here are some things. We are in a time where they are escalating their tactics of an oppressive regime. The arrest of Representative McClever earlier this week is an example of that. And again across the country, the disappearance of immigrants show the extent that they are planning, that they are willing to go to, and are escalating those tactics. So we want to be aware of that, and we want to respond with strength and with nonviolence. It's everyone's choice, whether they participate, whether they lead these events. We're so grateful for you all in leading these events and being part of that movement. Um, we ask that you read, watch, and follow safety and security practices outlined in the toolkit. And I saw there are a lot of questions. The toolkit, if you're not getting it from the chat, is also on the website, on the nokings.org website, if you need it there. So please make sure you're looking through the guidelines there. And then there are many different opportunities to get trainings, and I'll outline those here. You can go ahead to the next slide. So first, the first training, and many of you have probably been to these trainings before. We still encourage you to come back and see them. There are 17,000 people attend one of the trainings leading up to Hands Off, and there are many huge trainings leading up to May Day. So we know a lot of you have this experience already. Please come back, do them again, get refreshers, and encourage people in your group to come to them also. June 4th is a first safety and de-escalation training. June 8th is a day I really want to emphasize. This is a day where we're encouraging, it's Sunday, we're encouraging you to gather with your leaders from your group, from your local group. And don't worry if you're just getting started, find some leaders. You can even message people who are your RSVPs and ask them to join you in person and do this together. So June 8th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And you might want to use that opportunity to do other trainings or to do a sign making. This is the Sunday before June 14th. You can get people together in a big public space, a community center, a faith center, do sign making together, do other trainings and other discussions together. This is a great opportunity to do education and to do movement building as we get ready for June 14th to message, to even call some of your RSVPs and your leaders and get them together for this on June 8th. At the very least, we really encourage you to get together, at least with a small group of your leaders, and do this together on June 8th. Another opportunity, June 10th, will be a Know Your Rights training being led by the ACLU. And June 14th, I saw some questions about marshals, and June 11th will be a marshals training. So please come to these, take advantage of them. They're amazing leaders and experts who are running these, and a great opportunity to get more people involved. And again, make sure you're looking at the toolkit and looking at the practices there. With all this, make sure that you're having fun planning the event. Make sure everyone is enjoying and thinking of creative tactics. You're getting people excited who are your RSVPs, who are your group, and using this as a movement building, as an organization building opportunity that you're reaching out to new people and connecting to new people with new people as you go. Thinking about how you can expand and make this action bigger than actions you've had before if you've already planned them. And making it exciting for everyone who's participating. We need to make sure we're disciplined. We need to absolutely make sure our events stay nonviolence, even in the face of escalation if they try to escalate in any way. And so far they haven't at these events. We need to be ready, and we need to be enjoying ourselves and being creative and empowering people and building a movement that's exciting and uplifting. So let's do those things together. All right, and I think we're all going to come back on and take some questions and answers at this point.
All right. Hello. Thank you so much, Jonah. Really appreciate both you and Molly for jumping in there. So we've got a question in the chat about liability insurance. So I will say this is gonna vary pretty significantly between your locations. So we don't have one perfect good answer to give everyone, unfortunately. This is a question that has come up a lot, especially since Hands Off. We have we did have some suggested potential vendors in the toolkit, but sometimes they won't be able to, and it might be a little bit challenging. My starting suggestion would be if you have gotten a permit through your city for your event, if you are required to have a permit, check with your city or other event planners in your city about potential insurance carriers for that event. There are other ways that this might happen. Sometimes folks can work with a partner organization who is able to get a insurance coverage for your event. But unfortunately, because the requirements are so different across different states and different localities, it is difficult to give a single answer for that. So the one of the important parts about spaces like this is folks in the chat I see sharing some information and some thoughts about ways to get insurance. So if you have thoughts on that and you're able to share, definitely encourage you to share in the chat as well, because like I said, it is just so variable across the different localities, and we have 1,000 events, so it is challenging. Thank you for that. We've got a couple of other questions here. We've got a question on please talk about how to estimate crowd size. Molly or Jonah, do either of you have thoughts on that?
I think be realistic and aim high would be my recommendation. The media is going to probably put your number down a little bit. So I think like it's okay to take. I don't have a good way to count, but I think having a realistic estimate, having people work with you to figure that out, aiming a little bit high, recognizing the media might go lower than what you say. So that would be my recommendation. But not trying to be dishonest in any way, but being optimistic.
And naming that there are some formulas that you can find online that'll let you look at the general size of your space and help you create an estimate if that's helpful, especially if you know the rough dimensions of the park or wherever it is you happen to be gathering. Once you have those dimensions, it can help you come up with a good estimate.
Danny, I wanted to address something. People are giving some ideas around visuals, talking about creating puppets and bobbleheads, having noisemakers, cowbells. I wanted to amplify that. Also, just noting that June 14th is also Flag Day. It is absolutely essential in our movement against authoritarianism that we claim the flag and patriotism. Really, really important. So having flags, ordering flags, encouraging people to bring flags, having veterans speak, really important that we are claiming patriotism and claiming this is our country that they're trying to take away from us, that these are our values and our democracy is so important. So I want to emphasize that in a huge way and also another potential visual. We are working outside of this, but with a lot of the groups that are part of this on launching an effort with immigration groups called Disappeared in America on June 2nd. The website's disappearedinamerica.com that's already up. Looking at people like Kilmar Abrego Garcia who've been disappeared, highlighting their voices and their pictures. So having some of those pictures at your event and some of those images could be another thing that you do.
That's great. Thank you so much, Jonah and Molly. Um, I will just add to that on the crowd size piece. Typically, as organizers, when we think about RSVPs for events, organizer math is always about estimating your flake rate, because you assume more people will sign up than show up. That was not the case for Hands Off. We had people who, had events where they were expecting, in my small town, we were going to get 100 people, and we ended up with 400 people. For every one sign up, there were 3 people that showed up. That was certainly true in DC, more than that, actually. So I would say just a couple of things. One, there's a lot of energy. People are ready to take action. So keep an eye on how many RSVPs are in your event and how many people are showing up, but also plan for more. And number two, if you are somebody who is hosting an event and your expectations are like pretty moderate and you see that RSVP number ticking up, especially as we get closer to the day of, we want to make sure that you feel confident and secure in your ability to manage a large crowd. And to that end, I want to reiterate what Molly said. It is so important to have a team and to work with people that you trust in order to build out plans for a smaller event and a larger event, and just know what scenario you might be in as best you can going into the day of, because we want you to be confident and feel ownership over the success of the events that you're planning. So thank you so much for those questions. Um, there's a question in the chat about an idea of a mass sit down at demonstration where there might be some sort of escalation to highlight that perpetrators are not part of the group and to expose them. I love this question. I really appreciate the way that you're thinking through this, different tactics to de-escalate and to kind of demonstrate that any agitators are not part of our community. Um, there are a lot of tactics for doing that. We're going to talk a lot about them in the safety and de-escalation trainings, as well as the martial trainings that we are going to be offering in June. There's a large a library of literature on how activists and organizers can go about in the process of de-escalation. So we will have a lot more on that, and I encourage everyone to join that. But thank you so much for raising that in the chat. We have a question here on sign strategy. I'm guessing that's like what kind of signs and how we should go about making and you know drafting messages on signs. Would be interested, Molly, if you have any thoughts on this, or Jonah, either of you.
I don't have I'm not a great sign message person. I mean, I really like Let Them Eat Teslas. That was one of my favorite signs, but that's just a personal one. I don't have any other, any other good ideas. But I actually, I went to this great creative actions training that I'm hoping we can actually give for everyone at some point soon. This great organization, and encourage you to bring them to you. But one thing they talked about was in envisioning a creative action is starting with something that's unrealistic and kind of start a brainstorm that way and then getting smaller. So that's not exactly about or about what's on your sign, but it might be about things that you could do that would be interesting either at this event or a later one that you're doing locally. It was like kind of really thinking creatively outside the box. But that's not my expertise. So.
The one thing I'll say is that it is your sign's goal is to communicate in a way that a position paper wouldn't. So being funny, being clever in your visuals, thinking outside your regular rectangle, if there are creative shapes, if there are other ways you want to communicate, anything that helps get that message across in a really eye-catching way. Think of something you'd want to take a picture of. And then the other thing is to use the other resources. This is an event that is going to be happening across the world. There are already 1,000 events registered, and who knows how many there'll be by the time we actually get to that day. There's going to be a lot of really amazing creative content out there around this. Look to some of that, and we will also share out some of the funnier or more clever ideas that we've seen in the weeks to come. We can send out some ideas as well.
Definitely. There's a couple of questions in the chat as well about Mobilize and event posting and editing. A couple of notes there. So the default for new event hosts is that once an event is posted, you can edit the location and time, but the text is locked. If you do need a edit or edit access to your Mobilize event, please email events@nokings.org. They will manage that process and help you with that. And the reason we do that is because this is a very open mobilization that we're trying to bring a large group of people together for. And we want to be really conscious of, any potential efforts to edit events that are, in a nefarious way or anything like that. So we are as responsive as possible to any outreach about edits and adjustments. We just want to be also careful to make sure that we are being really good stewards of the people who are signing up and RSVPing to these events, and they're not being put in positions where they're getting false information or anything like that. So please reach out to events at nokings.org if you have questions on that.
And Danny,
Um,
if I'm right, there's only one event per area too, right? So one event is approved per area.
Yeah, so our approach to event approvals is that we try to avoid duplicate events, so there's not two competing events in the same area. If that does happen, we will let you know in your event when you get a response from Mobilize whether or not your event was approved, if that was the reason. But if you have made the decision that you're just going to do a separate event because you have a different community or neighborhood or area that you are trying to organize, or maybe you're trying to do a feeder event for a larger march, let us know. We're very flexible with what gets added depending on your scenario and your particular situation, and we want to be really really open to the different ways that people are organizing. So just as always, like if you've got a question or a problem, events at nokings.org is the way to go.
And feeder marches are a great idea. They had amazing feeder marches in Baltimore for May Day, for example, or just having people organize contingents like a labor contingent, a youth contingent, different like skaters contingent. I think they had like think about ways where people will feel like they're showing up together for your event is a really good way to build excitement and to make sure and to build buy-in from different organizations and segments to be part of it.
Yes, definitely. Um, uh, checking for a few other questions. The toolkit just got dropped in the chat. I'm also going to make sure that we are putting in the links for the upcoming ACLU Know Your Rights trainings. If we can drop those in the chat, like Jonah said, there will be two of those on June 10th. That is one in English at 7 p.m. and one in Spanish at 8 p.m., I believe. If we could get those dropped in the chat, that would be great. Pulling out a couple of other questions. I see one on the marshals training on the 11th. How is that different than the safety and de-escalation training on the 8th? So everyone should be really bought in and feel responsible for the process and practices behind safety and de-escalation. We want everyone to be as well trained on that as possible because it is everyone's responsibility. Marshals specifically are folks that have been designated with specific roles in your action or your event, who may be posted in certain areas, and they're asked to fill a variety of roles, including supporting folks who might need help or reporting any disturbances. And there are specific training practices that we will offer for marshals who are filling that role. So it is a different training and a different conversation. There will be a lot of overlap on the underlying strategies for addressing concerns, but just naming that there is a difference there. And I saw a question on that come up in the chat.
One thing Danny, I saw was how to coordinate or with both Pride events and also with Juneteenth events, and just urging people to form those bonds and unities. I know people are one of the themes that people are talking about for Pride is adding in a no kings, only queens floats related to this. I think that's awesome. but really reaching out and connecting with people, building relationships, and figuring out how to feel collaborative and community with those events is really important. And with Juneteenth events, having that relationship is powerful. And their next step is next day of action is going to be July 17th, is going to be John Lewis Day, John Lewis Good Trouble Day of Action. So that will be another way to continue to organize and focus and support leadership in the Black community too.
Yes. Thank you so much for that, Jonah. I'm gonna do one more of these questions because I think it's helpful, and then we can go ahead and wrap. I see a note in the Q&A here that somebody is not able to attend events in person, but will asking if it will be online because they watch the entirety of Hands Off online. So we will do a live stream from that flagship event in Philadelphia that we invite folks to join and watch. We're very excited about it. So it will be live streamed online on the website. But something that was really wonderful that I saw from Hands Off was somebody who hosted a virtual rally. It was a virtual disability rally for Hands Off participants. So folks from across the country could join that event virtually. I love that. That is such a wonderful thing. And for anyone who might be interested in doing that, like, please reach out. We would love to find a way to make sure that that's represented in the opportunities that are listed on the website. I think that's probably it for us for now. I know we can't get to all of the questions. There were a lot, but we will have additional trainings in the upcoming weeks. We will probably do a second version of this training because we expect to have new hosts coming in at some point. But the video of this training will be shared as well, and a follow-up email with all of the content. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Jonah, and thank you, Molly, for joining. I am so appreciative of everyone on this call who is taking the steps forward to make this day a success. You are all incredible organizers, heroes in this moment, and we are just really, really appreciative of you being here. Time to get to work. Thanks, y'all.
And thanks, everyone. Great work.